God of peace and justice, you open our hearts to love and to the joy of the gospel, even in the midst of countless forms of violence that take away the dignity of our brothers and sisters. Fill us with your grace, so that, like St. Titus Brandsma, we may in tenderness see beyond the horrors of inhumanity and contemplate your glory that shines forth through the martyrs of every age, and so become your authentic witnesses in the world of today. Amen.
Ahora magdamag, pero totoong performance.
Can you please take your seats? So we welcome our guests today, or rather tonight. First of all, we'd like to welcome and acknowledge the presence of our Titus Brandsma awardees, Mr. Raymond Villanueva, Mr. Howie Severino, and Mr. Red Bataro. We'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Joe Torres of PIA. Colleagues in the media, Taitusians, fellow Carmelites, whatever family, friends, good evening. So for our first segment, we will be having the welcome message from our very Reverend Rico P. Ponce Ocar, Prior Provincial of the Order of Carmelites, Philippine Province of St. Titus Brandsma. Father Rico.
Honorable and distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, good evening. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Maayong gabi. I am most honored to welcome you to the conferment of the Titus Brandsma Lifetime Achievement Award posthumous to Professor Napoleon Isabilo Billy Veloso Abueva. Professor Abueva has certainly a list of awards and achievements accompanying his name. Father of modern Philippine sculpture is one of these, an indication of his pioneering work, forging a path that would pave the way for other sculptors and artists in the years to come. Another, of course, is the National Artist Award given to him in 1976 at the age of 46, the youngest to receive such an honor. The list goes on and on, signifying Professor Abueva's impact on the life of the nation. Little wonder then that the Titus Brandsma Lifetime Achievement Award is to be conferred to him posthumously at this time when we need to be reminded of the timeless values that Professor Abueva represents: integrity, hard work, and perseverance, and respect for human dignity. As the creator of the Titus Brandsma Award Trophy, and also this sculpture here, the Resurrection and the bust of Titus that welcomes us when we enter here, he shared with the martyr, priest, journalist, and educator Titus Brandsma the same belief in the primacy of truth and integrity of life and work. Both of them have likewise experienced the inhumanity of war and had transcended this to undertake acts of faith and compassion. Professor Abueva was also known for his care and concern for his staff and employees, whether at the University of the Philippines College of Fine Arts or UP CFA, where he was Dean for many years, or for his other projects and undertakings. Age nor time did not make him slow down in his many works and interests, especially those involving other artists and sculptors. He was generous of his knowledge and wanted his students to do their best even under the most difficult circumstances. When asked what contributed to his success, Professor Abueva mentioned luck, hard work, which he said is not enough, and went on to reflect that the death of my parents maybe, eventually I translate emotions and transforms this into pieces of wood, marble, clay, and so on. In art as in life, adversity need not be an obstacle to making our own dreams come true, something Professor Abueva proved in his lifetime. He was not only an outstanding teacher and mentor, he remains an enduring inspiration to today's and future generation of artists. The Philippine Carmelite province of St. Titus Brandsma is very proud to be able to collaborate with Professor Abueva in conceptualizing what would symbolize the Titus Brandsma Award Trophy. We truly appreciate his excellent execution of this work of art. Other fascinating tales of his genius and generosity will come to fore tonight. Together, let us witness the conferment of the Titus Brandsma Lifetime Achievement Award to Professor Abueva, who I believe is happily looking at us along with his God and Creator. Maraming pong salamat.
Thank Thank you very much, Padre Rico. Now for our introduction, may we call on the Executive Director of the Titus Brandsma Media Center and Institute of Spirituality in Asia, Father Christian B. Buenafe Ocar.
So what else can I say, no? Father Rico, thank you for that welcome and introduction. So, welcome to this beautiful place. Beautiful, because this is a sacred place. One of the founders of the Institute of Spirituality Asia, by the name of Case Wyman, a Dutch Carmelite, died this year, last Palm Sunday, 2nd of April. And he wrote a book about the mystical space of Carmel. And this mystical space is a space. So that is also the concept of this hall. So this was constructed in 1991, and then it was blessed in 1992 on an Ash Wednesday by His Eminence Jaime Cardinal Cid, then Archbishop of Manila. And then there were 2 lechons. So, no. You have pork during Ash Wednesday. But Cardinal Sin dispensed us all. You may eat meat. A lot of things happen in this hall. Giants and not so giants in the fields of arts, politics, spirituality, theology. And we have here with us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 abuelas. So when you enter the hall, you have there the bust of Titus Brandsma. That's the only in the world. And then it was the idea of Sir Billy that since he's an academic person and a principled one, he should be grounded. The only one that bust created by Abueva. Of course, there are a lot of busts and statues, and but that's the only Abueva bust, and that's only in Manila, right? And he was the one who suggested that he is a principled person, so he should be put on a rock. That's why you have there a granite rock, a symbol of Titus's integrity and principles to justice, peace, and truth. And then, that was created in 1992. And then here at the back, there is the famous Resurrection that was created by Sir Billy Abueva in 1991. And there are only 5 pieces in the world. And one of these 5 is entrusted to us. Given, entrusted, whatever. It was not sold. It was entrusted to us. And then we have the statuette, which is in 2000, that's a Abueva creation. And this, how do you call this, lectern, ambo, podium. This is in 1982. 6 years after he was declared Pamansang Alagad ng city. So there are 4 Abuevas. And of course, the family of Sir Billy, the 5th Abueva. So it can be said that Titus Brandsma Center is very Abueva. And he was here on his wheelchair last 2015 during the awarding ceremony with Dr. Celia Abueva, the wife, and of course the family. So the family is here. Thank you very much for coming over. And the last awarding ceremony was in 2019, and then there was this pandemic. This is not a new thought, but there was this pandemic, and it seems the world stopped. But we are here, reflecting on truth and the spirituality of Titus Brandsma. For we are running now the Institute's Spirituality Forum, but at the same time celebrating the life of Titus, who was canonized last year, May 15, 2022 in Rome, and also recognizing a very important person in Philippine history, in Philippine art history, and in the history of those people, generations of generations who are searching for freedom, truth, justice, peace. And so, on this night also, we will formally introduce the new composition of the Titus Brandsma Award Philippines Board. So, maraming okasyon, no? At saka, it's a reunion of friends, and old friends, and newfound friends. So, please be friendly. So, I remember very well, we were still students with Father Dodo and Father Rico in the early 90s. And so we saw Sir Billy here with Father Bernard and with Dino running around. He was the apo, no? The grandson of Sir Billy. And then the relationship did not end there. We became friends and we grew together. So the Abuevas became not just friends but a family. And so when Sir Billy died, I was there in the wake in UP, and on behalf of the Carmelite family. We are honoring this man not because he's a friend of the Carmelites, but he's a great man. Through visual arts, he made a difference, not only among artists, but among academics, activists, but among us. So welcome to this open space. A lot of memories happened here. I think the only event that didn't happen here was funeral. But I think we had funeral, during the June 12, and then there is a coffin with empty and ang kalayaan ay nakaburon. We sing that song. So, giants like Ishmael Bernal was here, Heidi Yorak was here, VP Gingona, of course Miriam, the former president of Timor-Leste when they had this sanctuary. So, NDF people were here, during peace talks, charismatic, El Shaddai, everything is possible in the open space. Artists, national artists like Ricky Lee was here, Agnes Roxin, Lisa Makuha was here, and of course, Javi Severino, Cara David, Raymond Villalobos, Red Patario, and Henk Hoekstra was here, who was president of the, at the time, the Organisation Catholique International Cinema. It's French, it's difficult. And Peta was here. So maraming kwento dito. I was ordained a deacon here together with Dodo. Ordinations happened, their birthday, baptism, love life, wedding, film dialogue. No? The indie filmmakers started here. Friends in the mainstream alternative media. In this room, we have gathered the Philippine Press Institute and the KBP and the NUJP and all colors of journalists and musicians like video game, no? Of course, Gary, Joey, Bayang, the rest, no? So this is a sacred place. It's an open space. Because in the open space, nobody can claim ownership to the space. It's God, it's us who would want to encounter the divine. It's here. We have a lot of stories to tell in this beautiful, how many square meters? Small, but not so small. Not big, but it's cute. So this welcome to the Titus Brandsma Center Open Space. And we named this hall in honor of Father Crispin Offermans, the last Dutch Carmelite Superior of the Philippines. So this is your home. Diba, it's beautiful, no? It's nice. Thank you for your affirmation. I can feel it. And then we have the exhibit of this simple man, dangerous man, a journalist, an educator. He could have remained silent, but he stood his ground and fought for truth, justice, peace, and integrity and fullness of life. So, we are here to celebrate life, friendship, to celebrate our being Taitusians in a way, touched by the life of St. Titus Brandsma. We celebrate the life of Sir Billy Abueva. And of course, together with all our dreams, our aspirations, and our hopes. So, yun lang. Ba't tayo nandito? Thank you for responding. We invited 50,000. Now, but, you know, some of the former awardees said they would want to, but they, you know, anyway. But let's celebrate our evening together, and let's see each other in the next awarding ceremony in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Dutz, once again for another enlightening and entertaining introduction. Yes, it is trademark. All right. So to deliver a message, a special message, may we call on our Dutch Carmelite sister, Sister Anne-Marie Bos Okarm of the Titus Brandsma Institute in Nijmegen, the Netherlands. Sister Anne-Marie.
Good evening. I'm asked for this evening to say something about Titus Brandsma. So I will do that. And for this special occasion, I will first say something about his advocacy for the freedom of the press. And then, because this evening we honor a special artist, I want to say something about Titus Brandsma and his advocacy for art. Titus Brandsma emphasized the value of the freedom of the press. We appreciate, he says, that now we have this freedom. But at the same time, he stresses that it is anything but obvious to have this freedom. People have offered their lives to give us this freedom. And we have to fight for it, he says. That we keep it. It is a task, both for journalists and for consumers. Both have their responsibility. The journalists have to do their jobs very well. But the consumers, the customers, we have to enable the journalists to do this job. For instance, Titus Brandsma says, by buying the newspaper, appreciating the hard work that has been done. I don't have to underline today how relevant this message of Titus Brandsma is for this day all over the world, although we spoke about it 90 years ago. We all know that he especially advocated the freedom of press in the resistance to the increasing support of national socialistic ideologies. And Titus Brandsma regarded the Catholic press as an important means to articulate a voice of opposition, to inform the people well, to explain that National Socialistic ideologies undermine Christian fundamentals, which is love. In the 1930s, it were the Jews, but also the Roma, homosexuals, and other people that were categorically dehumanized, presented as being less than animals. Hitler used Christian vocabulary to present his ideology, and many Christians, many Catholics embraced it. This falsehood demanded strong opposition for the sake of truth against false prophets and deceptions, and Titus Brandsma stood for it. He called the Catholic press the strong weapon in our fight for truth. And as soon as we distance ourselves as press from the search for truth, we have lost our value. This was in the 30s. In 1940, when the Netherlands were occupied, the press was immediately put under state control. Press freedom was limited and step by step further restricted. Ever greater control was exercised over the press. And when in 1941, December, new restrictions were ordered, meaning that the Catholic papers were no longer allowed to decline National Socialistic advertisements, they were forced to publish. For Titus Brandsma, together with the Archbishop, this could not be tolerated. The restriction was a bridge too far. The line was that a Catholic paper that published this ideology could no longer be called Catholic, for undermining the Christian fundament of love. Titus Brandsma visited the various Catholic newspaper agencies to explain it personally. And as a result, his imprisonment was ordered. He was arrested. He went from the prison of Scheveningen to Kamp Amersfoort, Kleve prison, and finally concentration camp of Dachau. There he died, 6 months after his arrest. He became a martyr because he continued to stand for the truth of love. He would not deviate from it. He is a worthy patron for press freedom, example of courageous journalism that always want to bring the truth into light and do not give way. He was killed by a dictatorial regime, but he lives forth in our remembrance, in people that stand for the same values, in people all over the world that do not give way. And here in the Philippines also, Titus Brandsma is an inspiration for many. And the Titus Brandsma Award is a clear signal of this. But also this Titus Brandsma Center, with the beautiful artwork and the exhibition of pictures. Which brings me to the the second topic of my talk is efficacy of art, which is a less reviewed aspect of his life. Titus Brandsma provided several artists with commissions for sculptures, drawings, and other artworks. For instance, when he was responsible for building new Carmelite schools, he made statues part of the design, part of the created space for education. In our archives, we can find correspondence of Titus Brandsma with artists, and some letters show that they became his friends. Also, Titus Brandsma spoke at the opening of exhibitions. He speaks at the unveiling of statues, and in his writings we find several articles on specific religious artworks. And he wrote about visits he made to workplaces of sculptures. A more theoretical, philosophical article on beauty had not been a success. And in one of his writings, Titus Brandsma admits that he does not understand much about art, but that he looks at it from a spiritual point of view. And from that spiritual point of view, art plays an important role throughout his writings. He focuses on what the beholder can see in an artwork, what an artwork has to say, especially on the level of spirituality. One of the sculptures he was very much involved in was the erection of a Sacred Heart sculpture, a statue in the city where he lived. And he said, erecting a statue of the Sacred Heart itself, it has absolutely no value if it does not connote an actual act of worship and honor. A statue of the Sacred Heart should not be a dead piece of stone, but it should live and speak of God's love, of love that demands love in return. So his interest in visual arts was always in the context of his contemplative practice. And it worked also for himself. We all know his famous poem, written in the Scheveningen prison. Oh Jesus, when I gaze on you, once more alive, that I love you. He wrote it, looking at an image of the wounded Christ by Fra Angelico. He beholded the picture, and his heart was warmed. He felt the friendship as never before. Your presence, he says, makes all things good for me. I hope that in the same way, the image of Titus Brandsma, when we gaze on it, will speak to us. That we are comforted by his living and inspiring presence, and stand for truth ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Anne-Marie. So now we come to the conferment of the Titus Brandsma Lifetime Achievement Award, posthumous to Professor Napoleon Isabelo Billy Veloso Abueva. So Napoleon V. Abueva was recognized as the father of modern Philippine sculpture. His modernist approach can be seen in his exploration of various media, such as Molave, Acacia, Langka, Ipil, Cabago, Palm, adobe, cement, marble, bronze, iron, brass, among others. It is also apparent in the monumental character of his outdoor and public sculptures and the promotion of Philippine themes in his subject matter. His works adorn public buildings, such as the altar and hanging crucifix of the UP Diliman Chapel, mural at the National Center for Mental Health, and facade relief at the Insular Life Building in Makati. He also created the memorial cross reliefs at Dambana ng Kagitingan in Mount Samat, Bataan, San Dugo Monument in Tagbilaran, Bohol, and Balangiga Encounter Monument in Balangiga, Samar. His sculptures can also be seen in public spaces such as La Mesa Eco Park, Neptune and Aphrodite, Eternal Gardens Memorial Park, The Transfiguration, in UP Visayas, ang Diwata at ang Dagat, in UP Los Baños, Pagaraw, and UP Diliman, Nine Muses, Magdangal, and Tres Marias. Some of his sculptures involve movable components like the allegorical harpoon at the Cultural Center of the Philippines and the Spirit of Business at the UP Diliman campus. Abueva was born on January 26, 1930, in Manila and grew up in Duero, Bohol. When he was young, he showed interest in art and surprised his siblings and friends with his beautiful wooden sculptures. The 1950s marked the beginning of his prolific artistic practice. He enrolled at the UP College of Fine Arts in 1950 as a Pura Villanueva Calao scholar, where he was mentored by national artist Guillermo Tolentino. While studying at UP, he was already winning in the Art Association of the Philippines competitions, such as first prize in the 1951 AAP semi-annual competition and the top prize in the 1952 AAP annual art competition. In 1953, he took up Master of Fine Arts at the Cranbrook Academy of Art, sponsored by the Fulbright Travel Grant and Smith Mundt Scholarship. He also finished a postgraduate course at the University of Kansas. He took up summer courses at Harvard University in 1956. His education made him highly skilled in both classical and abstract representations. This is manifested in his numerous outstanding works that contribute to the development of Philippine modern sculpture. He was awarded National Artist for Sculpture in 1976 and was the youngest artist to receive the prestigious award. Abueva's skill, dedication, and passion for art inspired him to produce numerous works until he passed away on February 16, 2018 in Quezon City. He was very much consistent and supportive to the ideals and causes of St. Titus Brandsma for truth, free speech and free press, justice and peace. He was a dedicated academic and advocate of press freedom through his artworks and sculpture masterpieces. Professor Abueva had inspired generations and generations of old and young Filipinos to express and articulate their thoughts and ideas freely through different art forms. Professor Abueva was a principled man, and he was a man of integrity, honor, and faith. He was a friend of various people from all walks of life, and also a dear friend of the Carmelites. He designed and created the Titus Bust and Trophy, which are distinctly masterworks and among the first in the world. At this point, may we request the Prior Provincial of the Philippine Carmelite Province, Father Rico Ponce Ocarm, Sister Anne-Marie Boss Ocarm of Dutch Carmelite Province, and Mr. Howie Severino, representing the board, to hand over the award. The medallion carries the official seal of the canonization of Titus Brandsma last year, May 22, in Rome, and the seal of the Philippine Carmelite Province. Friends, the Titus Brandsma Lifetime Achievement Award posthumous is conferred to Professor Napoleon Billy Veloso Abuela. To bring us the response from the Abueva family, may we request Miss Amihan Abueva.
Good evening, everyone. In behalf of our family, I would like to thank all of you, especially, of course, the Carmelites, for this great honor that you have bestowed on my father. So tonight, I'm with my husband, Jimmy, my two grandchildren. These are the great-grandchildren of Billy Abueva. Sano is actually, well, the real name of my father. We realized when he passed away, he's actually Isabelio. So my grandson is Isabelio, but we call him Sano. And then my granddaughter is Luwalhati, and she calls herself Lily. And then my sister-in-law, Joy, the wife of my youngest brother, Duero. So for us, this is a really great honor because I think there's some, the World War II really affected our family, because just to explain a little bit, my father was 14 when he was arrested by the Japanese because the Japanese were looking for my grandparents, his parents, because my grandfather was a provincial sheriff, and his wife, my grandmother, was also a member of the Women's Auxiliary Corps. So they were part of the provincial committee against the invasion of the Japanese. So they were on the list, like similar to red tagging, the list of people to be exterminated. So my father and his grandmother were arrested. The Japanese thought that by arresting them, the grandmother would then ask her son to surrender. But my grandmother, my great-grandmother said that no, he should not surrender. Anyway, she's already old and he has 7 children to take care of. So my father was badly tortured, but he managed to escape. And so when he saw his family, they could hardly recognize him because he had been badly tortured. He had lost some of his teeth. Unfortunately, just a few weeks later, the Japanese and the collaborators were able to arrest my grandparents and also several of the children. But my father refused to come out from the forest because he knew that if he would be arrested, he would probably be killed. So it was the younger children who were arrested, but they were later allowed to go free. So a month later, the elder brother of my father, the one Tito Pepe, Jose Abueva, the former president of the University of the Philippines, had to go and looking for his parents. So by that time, all he could find were fragments of their bones and pieces of their clothes and an old belt and a comb, but enough to recognize that these were the remains of his parents. So he had been given a box, a paper box, so he just put everything that he could find. So that left them orphan. And so my father and his siblings had to take on several jobs. And one of the jobs of my father was to be cochero. That means to drive a calesa between the town of Hagna and Duero. And then, of course, many other jobs, working in the construction sites. He was a working student, also working with the public works. We learned a lot on those jobs, including, I think at one point he told me, I always wake up early because one of the jobs he had to do was to sell bread. So you have to wake up early if you want to sell bread. So for us, he was telling us, his children, you have to get up early because there's so much to do. So my father always had this hard-working streak, and of course, they learned how to do many jobs, and but they always stayed together, and they were always inspired by the love of their parents. So because there were 7 of them, they were a very creative family. They entertained themselves during the war. They would stage their own plays in the evacuation center. And so you have already heard about how he was able to go through school. All of them were working students at the University of the Philippines. So the university has a very big part of, formed a very big part of who they are. They live there, and I also grew up in the university. And so the big stone on which the Titus Brandma bust is actually a big boulder from the University of the Philippines. There was a construction going on, and he saw this big stone, and he said, "Oh, this big stone, this is what I will use for as the base for the bust," because he felt that a stone coming from the premises of the University of the Philippines, which is a citadel for press freedom, would be a fitting base for the statue of Titus Brandsma. So I would like to thank the Titus Brandsma family and the Carmelites for being such a good friend of the family. During the last years of my father, Father Bernard came to our home several times and also officiated in prayers and masses for my dad. So on this occasion, I would like to remember also all our friends, Father Ton, Mercy, Father Bernard, Father Peter Kramer, all those other Dutch Carmelites who were very good friends. And also want to mention, actually, we did use this Titus Brandsma Center when I still worked for Children's Rights. And we did hold, when this was still open as a seminar hall, one of the organizations I work with on children's rights, we were able to hold a seminar here. So anyway, during the martial law period, my father was also very much against the dictatorship, but he had to look for more creative ways to express his opposition. But he encouraged me. I was a student at that time. He would tell me, "I'm going to Manila. I'll be passing through Plaza Miranda. There's a demonstration today. Aren't you going there? I can drop you off." He was the one who would encourage me to be active. So when the military finally came to our house in 1979 looking for me with the arrest and search and seizure order, he just went on with his work. He was very upset, but he just went on with the sculpture he was working on. So it became the task of my mother to follow the military from room to room to make sure that they would not plant any evidence. And the only thing that they actually got was a copy of poems that my father had brought home from China. So it was a copy of Mao Zedong's poems that the military had confiscated and listed as evidence. So, and I think it was a government trip actually. There several artists had been sponsored by the government to visit China. And this was his present, his pasalubong for me. And this is, up to now, it's still with the military. So, all throughout my life, my father always showed us that it was important to have, to work hard, but also to have faith. So when my father had a serious stroke when he was around 55 years old, he lost, he became quite weak. So to gain his strength, he did a lot of religious work, as well as bus. He would make a bus of practically everyone, you know, just to get his hands strong again. And he did a lot of religious work. And I told him, how sure are you're going to heaven? I say, he would always smile. You're also a sinner. Yes, I'm a sinner, but I'm sure I will go. You know, so, again, I just want to thank you. It's been 5 years and 6 months since my father passed away. And I'm hoping that we can continue in our family the tradition of fighting for freedom. And we need the guidance of Saint Titus to give us courage to continue the work for human rights. And of course, especially now with the problem of misinformation, the role of journalists becomes even more important. But because of social media, all of us now have a role, in a way, to help disseminate the truth. So the challenge really is for us to keep on looking for the truth and defending the truth in spite of all the difficulties. So again, my thanks to the Carmelites and the Titus Brandsma family for giving our family this, my father, honoring our family with this award. And rest assured that we will do our best to continue the tradition of fighting for freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Amihan Abuel, for sharing your precious remembrances and your presence together with your family this evening. At this point, we would like to introduce the members of the Titus Brandsma Award Philippines Board. First off, Mr. Howie Severino. Horacio Severino, or Howie, as he is fondly called by his colleagues, started his broadcasting career in 1988 as a professional broadcast journalist in print, television, and radio broadcasting. He has already been recognized repeatedly as shown by his several awards. He recalled that he has been interested in journalism ever since he was a little boy. He had earned his degree from Tufts University in Massachusetts and Bachelor of Science in History as magna cum laude, and he had pursued his master's degree in Environment Development and Policy at Sussex University. In 1988, Howie started his career as a reporter in a newspaper and magazine writer. He was a co-founder of the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism and customized himself as one of the documentary filmmakers. He then joined Cheche Lazaro on the Probe team, after which he decided to join Eyewitness, the longest-running public affairs program in the country. He also became editor-in-chief of GMA News Online, a website of GMA Network. He was then appointed as GMA Network's Vice President for Multimedia Journalism in 2009 and pioneered the use of Google Maps for covering disasters in different areas. Howie can be seen as a co-anchor of the morning television show News to Go with Cara David on GMA News TV today. Howie Severino is married to Ipad Luna, and they are blessed with a son named Alon Roberto. His wife is an environmental lawyer and TOIM awardee. His son is also into stage acting and was given the award for Best Child Performer by the Aliw Awards for the play entitled Totong Hilot, which was staged at the Cultural Center of the Philippines. Howie's parents are Ambassador Rodolfo Severino, who was the past Secretary General of the ASEAN, and Tati Gorospe Severino, an administrator and a school teacher back then. Howie was also named by People Asia magazine as one of the men who matter. He is being acknowledged for stories that can be used as witness and a weapon for possible change by the magazine. Those who are being recognized are challenged to do work that really matters and to do things that matter, especially to the people and to the country as well. To this day, he remains dedicated to his work, presenting news and current affairs with truth and sincerity. He is a professional and responsible journalist who is living by his belief that there is more to the news than the news itself. It's the truth behind the news that makes real news. Howie Severino was awarded with the Titus Bransma Award Philippines for Leadership in Journalism in 2009. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Howie Severino. Our next board member is Ms. Caroline Arguillas. Caroline Arguillas is a seasoned and award-winning journalist of Mindanao who chairs the Davao City-based Mindanao News and Information Cooperative. She was the recipient of the Titus Bransma Award Philippines for Journalism in 2002 and a Marshall McLuhan Fellow in 2011. She served as editor-in-chief of Minda News until June 1 this year and now heads the publication's archives and library. She also serves as its special reports editor. Caroline has emerged as a visionary leader in the field of peace journalism. With her unwavering commitment to journalism ethics and her contributions to constructive and inclusive media coverage, Caroline has become an influential figure in the pursuit of peace in the Philippines. Over the past 2 decades, Minda News, under her leadership, has earned recognition for its constructive coverage of peace efforts, fostering an environment of dialogue and understanding. It has played a significant role in achieving milestones in the country's peace processes, including the signing of a peace agreement between the Philippine government and the Moro people in the southern part of the country, and the passage of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Caroline has just been recognized with the prestigious 2023 Outstanding Peace Journalism Award from the Luxembourg Peace Prize. With her unwavering commitment to journalism, ethics, and her contributions in constructive and inclusive media coverage, Caroline has become an influential figure in the pursuit of peace in the Philippines, wrote Luxembourg Peace Prize awarding body Schengen Peace Foundation. Caroline's contribution in peace journalism has helped shape the media landscape towards a better reporting and understanding of Mindanao. Her commitment to responsible reporting, combined with her unwavering dedication in peace building, has made her an influential figure in the pursuit of a more inclusive society. Peace is a process and not a mere event. in reporting peace and conflict, knowing history, and upholding human rights and justice are a must. Carolyn is a graduate of journalism from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and had worked for years with Veritas, Manila Chronicle, and Philippine Daily Inquirer before she established Minda News together with other journalists in Mindanao. The renowned journalist lectures at the College of Mass Communication at UP Diliman as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Carolyn Argilias. Unfortunately, she cannot be here tonight. Actually, she already had her ticket, but she had to attend to an emergency as her mother has just been rushed to the ICU. So can we all pray for her mother's well-being? Our next board member, Ms. Angela B. Oreta. She graduated with a degree in AB Communication Arts from De La Salle University and received her MA in Theology, major in Social Pastoral Communication, cum laude, from the University of Santo Tomas Graduate School. She was a fellow of the World Press Institute, a British Chevening Scholar for Television Production, and an alumna of the AIM Managing the Arts program. She completed the Accelerated Coach Training Program conducted by Benchmark Consulting. She is an active member of the International Coaching Federation, the largest professional organization of coaches worldwide, and the Asia Pacific Alliance of Coaches, the regional network of coaches. Angie works as head writer, executive producer, to name a few, Samantalang Balita, EDSA 25, Sulyap ng Kasaysayan, Banal, Pope John Paul II, San Pedro Calungsod, Mabuhay Lolo Kiko, Sulyap sa pagbisita ng Santo Papa sa Pilipinas, and Sumasampalataya Ako. She was executive producer of ABS-CBN's Off the Record with Randy David and attorney Katrina Legarda, and The Inside Story with Lauren Legarda and Art to Art of Manila Broadcasting Company. Over the years, Angie writes scripts and documentaries for Marianas Media, Jesuit Communications, CBCP, ABS-CBN, among others. Angie is also a trainer and member of the Titus Brandsma Media Education Team and currently serves as director of the Carmelite Center for Social Pastoral Communication of the Philippine Carmelite Province of St. Titus Brandsma. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Angela B. Oreta. Mr. Raymond Villanueva. Raymond is the director for radio of Kodao Productions, Inc., a multimedia radio and production group based here in the Philippines that has won awards and citations from different award-giving bodies. Known for his passion as a journalist and a storyteller, Villanueva has written articles on peace and conflict, disasters, human rights, social justice, among other issues, in Bulatlat.com and other outlets. His works include a story on the massacre of a Balaan family and a photo essay on the Banwaon children of Balit. Born in Tuguegarao, Cagayan Province, Raymond grew up listening to commercial radio programs. Raymond started broadcasting in 1994, and he was one of the original co-hosts of Ngayon na Bayan. He tried to prepare himself for this, first by taking graduate studies at the University of the Philippines, and next by pursuing a diploma in radio broadcasting from the Ateneo de Manila University. When I was given a chance to be broadcaster of Ngayon na Bayan, I was very satisfied and fulfilled. We were able to prod issues deeper and entertain alternative points of view that were missing in usual radio programs, he said. Though he has fearlessly faced the different threats in the profession, Villanueva always tells students and fellow media practitioners that safety is a must in performing one's duties. In all these, I am happy and still alive, he said. I have every intention to stay this way for some more decades, because no story, no photograph, no film, no broadcast is worth dying for, Villanueva said during one of the workshops he handles. The fulfillment, however, was laden with anxiety. Raymond recalled receiving threats through text messages and calls while on board the radio program. We just chose to ignore them, he said. A common strategy of those who attacked them was the labeling of the program as a propaganda machinery of the left. Some messages implied that they were being monitored and that the military would arrest them. These led Raymond and his colleagues to suspect that, probably, the messages came from the military. Raymond was further worried that the threats may not be empty. After all, he personally knew some broadcasters killed in the provinces. Extrajudicial killings and abductions compounded Raymond's fears as a broadcaster. One of Candao Productions' core programs was outreach and networking. The program offered radio training to sectoral organizations that were interested with producing their own radio stations. Some of the community radio projects supported by Candao were those of Bagao, Cagayan, Sagada, Mountain Province, Tanawan, Batangas, and Iloilo City. Radio Cagayano, in its short span of test broadcast, became a popular form of communication and symbol of unity of Bagao. The UP Community Broadcaster Society gave the first Kalui Tabing Memorial Achievement Award in Community Broadcasting to Raymond Villanueva at the 16th UP Broadsock Kandingan Awards held virtually on April 2. Villanueva was honored for his contributions toward establishing, developing, and building human resource capacity to sustain community radio program stations in the country. Raymond B. Villanueva was the recipient of the Titus Brasma Award Philippines for Emergent Leadership in Journalism in 2015. He is currently the chairperson of Alter Media, Inc. Ladies and gentlemen, Raymond B. Villanueva. Up next, Father Rico P. Ponce Ocarm. Father Rico Palaka Ponce Ocarm is currently the Prior Provincial of the Order of Carmelites in the Philippines and serving his second term. He completed the following degrees: Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry, and Doctor of Philosophy, and Doctor of Sacred Theology in Empirical Theology from Radboud University of Nijmegen, the Netherlands. His fields of teaching are spirituality, pastoral and empirical theology, the social teachings of the Church, and research methodology. Father Rico had served as Executive and Academic Director of the Institute of Spirituality in Asia and a member of the Institutum Carmelitanum of the Carmelite Order in Rome. His publications include Spirituality and Quality of Life, an empirical theological exploration among Filipino migrants in the Netherlands, Ownership and Property, an empirical, theological, ethical, moral, and pastoral approach, Breath of Fire, an exploration of the methods and contents of transformative spirituality, and different articles on spirituality and theology. Father Rico is also convener of the Anoy Mission para sa Mahihirap, a member of the Center for Empirical Studies in Spirituality, Theology, and Religion in Asia, and currently a board member of the Conference of Major Superiors of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, Father Rico P. Ponce Ocar. And last but not the least, Father Christian B. Buenafe Ocar. Father Toots, as he is known, is the Executive and Academic Director of the Institute of Spirituality Asia and Titus Brandsma Media Center. He holds Bachelor of Arts in English, Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry, and Doctor of Philosophy in Organization Development from the Southeast Asia Interdisciplinary Development Institute. He facilitates retreats and spiritual conferences and lectures in the fields of spirituality, theology, social communication, media education, JBIC, and human rights and pastoral management. Father Toots formerly served as editor of Carmel News Philippines, board member of the Union of Catholic Asian News Philippines, board member of Social Communications in Asia Net, online contributor for Family and Life Interaction, and founding member of Asian Communications in Asia Inc. As a media educator, he chairs the subcommittee on media education of the JEEP-GY program of the Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, and is also a member of the Bayard Advisory Council. He is also the present superintendent of the OCARM schools in the Philippines. As a human rights and environmental defender, he currently serves as chair of the Task Force Detainees of the Philippines, vice chair of the Philippine Alliance of Human Rights Advocates, national coordinator of CMSP, Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation Commission, commissioner of the International JPIC, commission of the Carmelite Order, convener of the JPIC Social Action Commission of OCARM Philippines, board member of the Coalition for the Services of the Elderly, board member and lecturer of the Fellowship for the Care of Creation Association Inc., and refounding member of the Laudato Si Movement Pilipinas. A board member of the Center for Empirical Studies in Spirituality, Theology, and Religion in Asia. He also serves as co-executive secretary of the Conference of Major Superiors in the Philippines, formerly known as the Association of Major Religious Superiors in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, Father Christian B. Buenafe Ocar. Now may we call on the Director of the Carmelite Center for Social Pastoral Communication and a member of the Titus Brandsma Award Philippines Board for a closing message. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Angela Blardoni Oreta, A.O.CAR.
Thank you, Brother Lester. Kala ng iba nagmadre na ako. Kasi, happy birthday, Sister Angie. I had to pacify a lot of people. Ayaw nila magkaroon ng revolution. Health in the Lord and the blessing of the Holy Spirit is our traditional Carmelite greeting. You know, I remember many moons ago, I will not deny my age, we were able to interview Professor Abueva in this show that I used to produce, Art to Art with Lisa Makuha Elizalde. And I cannot forget, syempre, we had this standard question for national artists. Ano po ang mai-a-advise ninyo sa mga kabataan natin na gusto rin maging sculptor na katulad nyo? And Professor Billy said, kailangan, they have to train like a boxer. So si Lisa hindi makapala question. Kasi usual yan, dapat masipag, you should be passionate about your art. Dapat you should train like a boxer. Bakit po? Kasi mabibigat yung mga bato tsaka yung mga kahoy na nabibitbitin nila. So, that was, I could not forget that answer. No? Kakaiba rin yung sense of humor ni Professor Billy. Anyway, it is truly a remarkable experience for me to stand before you tonight. First, as a Carmelite. Second, as a media professional. And now, as a new board member of the Titus Brandsma Award Philippines. Dati, tagapalakpak lang ako dyan na yan. And so, excuse me as I fangirl over this moment. Because I would never have imagined that I would be in the esteemed company of such renowned and hardcore investigative journalists, all of whom are actually Titus Brandsma awardees. So there's Carol Ardillas in 2002, whom I first met in 1991. I was just a newbie producer, and we met at the GRP MNLF Peace Talks in Indonesia, the very first one in 1991. So talagang wow. And of course, Howie Severino, who was awarded in 2009, and Raymond Villanueva in 2015, who gives lectures on radio, workshops on radio production for we're trying to spread the media education program. So ito yung mga certified na mahuhusay, matatapang, may integridad at walang bahid na katiwalian. Pasensya na kayo, kagandahan lang ang pwede kong iambag. Sana sapat na. Kagandahan ang ugali pa yun. So I just wanted to lighten up the moment kasi nakakakaba. By now we have heard so many times about how Titus Brandsma is a defender of truth and martyr of press freedom. In the Philippines, we say, kakanalig ng katarungan, kakampi ng katotohanan. So since his canonization, there has been a growing clamor to make St. Titus the modern-day patron of Catholic journalists. In fact, just recently, the OSB News Organization, which is a spin-off of the Catholic News Service, has already adopted him as their special patron because of his courage in promoting a journalism of peace and a journalism of truth. So, habol Pilipinas. For us in the media profession, it is important to note that Titus Brandsma played a very special role in the life of journalists. And this is something that I particularly would wish to promote. Not only was he a fearless writer and editor, he was also a beloved pastor and spiritual advisor of the Roman Catholic Association of Journalists in the Netherlands. So not only was he attracted by the world of journalism, he had a special love and concern for journalists as persons who needed pastoral care. The church document Communio et Progressio tells us, and I quote, "Communicators have the right to expect that kind of spiritual help that meets the special needs of their important but difficult role." And it continues, "It is a source of strength for Catholic communicators that they receive from the church spiritual help to meet the needs of their important but difficult role." So those of us here who are media professionals, makaka-relate tayo dyan. Pag hapon kang nag-cover ng patayan, wala kang makausap at the end of the day. And that's just one example. This pastoral instruction was published in 1971, and yet, Father Titus Brandsma was already offering this special ministry as far back as 1935. In fact, it was his role of being the spiritual advisor of Catholic journalists that directly got him arrested because he was working hard, traveling, trying to convince the editorial boards of Catholic newspapers to not publish Nazi propaganda on the grounds of Christian and journalistic principles. So he's going around talking to the editors. And that was the last straw for the occupiers. Not only did Titus Brandsma champion freedom of the press, he championed the members of the press. He walked the talk. Those who knew him attested how Father Titus always made time for his journalists, no matter how busy his own schedule was. He helped them with their personal crisis, both as a pastor and as a friend. He even helped them with their legal troubles and interceded with management in cases where journalists had to battle with unfair practices, such as discrimination or dismissal. As a spiritual advisor, he did not only pray and counsel his flock. He was quick to take action and was always present when he was needed most. More importantly, St. Titus worked hard to enlighten journalists and editors about the social realities of his time. He encouraged them to think independently and to see through the lies of the Nazi ideology. And in the end, as a Carmelite following the footsteps of Christ, this pastor, this good shepherd, went all the way and laid down his life for his sheep. Calling to mind Titus Brandsma's pastoral care for journalists, it is my fervent wish that as we bestow awards to brave and uncompromising media professionals, that our Carmelite friars and priests, and also our lay, will also be inspired to become spiritual companions to journalists and media workers, to take on this challenge of helping them address the unique psychological pressures and ethical dilemmas they regularly face in the workplace, as well as their constant exposure, directly or indirectly, to the negative or dramatic situations that they encounter every day, like crime, death, corruption, and other societal ills. As St. Pope John Paul II, a good friend to media workers, wrote in his very last apostolic letter, Rapid Development, it is important to assure that media professionals receive the necessary formation and pastoral attention to confront the particular tensions and ethical dilemmas that arise in their daily work. Often, these men and women sincerely desire to know and practice what is ethically and morally just, and look to the Church for guidance and support. With Titus Brandsma as our model, and being the titular patron of our Philippine Carmelite province, I pose this invitation to our brother friars and to all the members of the Carmelite family. I truly hope that we as Carmelites and promoters of St. Titus Brandsma will take on this opportunity to lay the ground for mutual respect, tolerance, and understanding between the Church and media, and to be reminded of the Church's commitment and duty to look after the needs of all the faithful, including members of the print and broadcasting industries. Maraming salamat po at magandang gabi sa inyo.
Thank you, Sister Angie. And that concludes tonight's Titus Brandsma Awards. Thank you to the Abueva family. Thank you to our Titus Brandsma awardees, guests, fellow Carmelites, pastel strings for the beautiful music tonight. So, have a pleasant evening. God bless us all. Dinner is served.
Punta tayo sa